Welcome, this is Carrie Schell from On Point Quilter. In this tutorial, we're going to explore a new option for using Electric Quilt. And in this tutorial, I will be using it to create templates that I can use in making cards. I have set up a project for card making templates, and on the home screen, select Design a Block from Scratch. Select a new block, Pieced and Applique, Easy plus Applique. In the Precision toolbar, change the block width and height to the side of the card base. That is either going to be 5.5 by 4.25 or 4.25 by 5.5. Since I want a taller card, I'm going to put in 4.25 by 5.5. Then select the Applique tab. I'm going to start by snapping to the 1/4 inch, and so to calculate that, I'm going to take the block width of 4.25 and multiply it times 4. So that means I want snaps horizontal of 17. Then multiply the height of 5.5 by 4, and that will be 22. So I'm going to set my snaps horizontal at 17 and snaps vertical at 22. For snapping options, turn on Snap to Grid, Snap to Nodes, Auto Join Segments when drawing, and turn on the Hide Show Autofill on closed patches. For the book binding, I want to have a square for the bottom and the remainder at the top. Since the card is 4.25, it means I want 4.25 on the bottom, and so with the Draw tool and the line, I will draw a horizontal line at 1.25 inch. This represents where the fold will be on my card. To create an 1/8 inch background around the frame, it means our square needs to be a 1/4 inch smaller than the size of the square at the bottom. So select Shapes, select the square, drag from the upper left to the lower right corner to create the square, and select it with the pick tool and change the size to 4 by 4. Drag the patch by dragging the crosshairs in the center and eyeball it to position the patch so all 4 sides look approximately the same. Between the frame and the next layer, we want another 1/8 inch border. And so we're going to do a clone and change the width and height to 3.75. For the book binding, I want to put 1/8 of an inch at the top, but no border on the bottom. Then when looking at the top of the card, all of the background spaces will look like they're 1/8 of an inch. With the Shapes tool, select the square, drag a rectangle from the upper left to lower right corner. Change the size of the piece to a width of 4 and a height of 1 1/8, which is 1.125. Drag the crosshairs in the center to position along the drawn line at 1.25 inches. Then select Clone. Under Selected Segment Properties, reduce the size by 1/4 inch. So that will be a width of 3.75 and a height of 0.875. You could eliminate this patch if you want to use a ribbon over the binding. Then go ahead and add to Project Sketchbook. Now I decided I wanted to play with creating a wreath in that center square. And the stamp that I wanted to use for my wreath measures around 1.25 by 1.25. To create a layout for my stamp, under Shapes, select the circle. Drag a circle from the upper left to the lower right, and change the width and height to 1.25. Then select Wreath Maker. You can experiment with the number of clusters and cluster spacing, but you don't want to change the resize cluster because we need to keep that at 1.25. So I decided to set the number of clusters at 6 and the cluster spacing at 80%, which provided a little bit of overlap, and select OK. Drag the crosshairs to center in the square at the bottom. Then select the Color tab. I decided to color the frame in brown, which will represent the cork, and color the remaining pieces in white. Then select Print and Export and select Block. Under Edit Name, type in Bookbind Card Template and select Apply. Under Printing Style, select Outline Drawing. Select Options and make sure Print Block Name is turned on, and select Preview. After printing out my card, I can return to the Draw tool, and I will add cutting instructions to my printout. To obtain the cutting instructions, use the Pick tool and select each of the patches. Under Selected Segment Properties, note the width and height and transfer that information to the printout. Also consider using the printout to test your stamps. This is a great way to audition the stamps before using them on the actual card. Thanks so much for watching. If you would like to try this technique, consider looking at cards on either Pinterest or YouTube videos and create your own card template.